Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and today we are going to use a foil plate 5 ways. I have loved the vintage tin tile foil plate forever. Well, since it came out. That's not that long, October. And there are so many ways you can use a foil plate like this that doesn't involve foiling. This first way I'm going to use it is just straight up dry embossing, creating more of a letterpress design with this, and I used the sandwich on the system here that is recommended to do embossing with your dies, and you could see the layers that we used. Next, I took the plate and I rubbed the Distress Oxide in Lumberjack Plaid all over the foiling plate, and then did the embossing the same way as the first one. And you can see that we get this beautiful image right on top. Next, I'm going to take the foiled pine cut and foil, and I foiled the tree in green foil, and then we're going to take Rustic Wilderness and Pine Needles Distress Oxides and do some ink blending in a couple of tones of green all over the tree. I think this turned out really lovely. I did this to create 2 different trees, and this was my first attempt of creating this green cardstock or green background for an evergreen pine here. And you can see how lovely that embossing resisted all of that inking. Next, I wanted to add a little variation in distressing with some spatters of water. And you can see how that developed into a nice rustic tree. Next, I decided to add some ink smushing. So I squished some ink onto my work surface and spritzed it with a little water, ran my paintbrush through it just to get things nice and mixed, and then I was squishing my tree directly into the different inks. I let that dry, and then I took the other tree that I hadn't done anything with yet and decided to just do straight up ink smushing on this tree. I was surprised how much ink this was taking. I figured that it would just all get absorbed right away and that I would be able to totally fill in the color on that tree with what was left on my mat. Clearly not. I did end up smushing the ink pads onto the work surface another time to get all of the ink, all of the tree covered with ink. And I think I liked this version better. The oxide ink seems to be covering the foiling less. Next, I take the Season's Greetings cut and foil die and foiling set, and I die cut first from some shiny red metallic cardstock the words Season's Greetings in the fine detail die, and I also cut the shadow die in some red cardstock. Then I take some good precision tip glue and adhere the fine detail words to the shadow dies. Now this doesn't take a lot of effort, just a little bit of time, and the precision tip glue is the secret weapon here. That and the tweezers. I apologize if you hear some extra noise. I happen to have one of my grandchildren here, and as you probably know, when there's kids in the house, it is impossible to find a quiet moment or a quiet space. We're going to add the little apostrophe here, and my pickup stick is a handy tool to accomplish that. And that's Seasons, and then we'll add our greetings. This actually goes pretty quickly. I'm just pushing out the parts of the word that need to come out that didn't fall out right away when I die cut them, like the centers of the E's and the swoop in the G, the lowercase g, and we'll add that to the shadow. My secret to this is get the first letter lined up and then walk along the entire word, getting each letter lined up individually and then pushing down as I go. Next, I'm going to add a drop of glue here for the tittle on the eye. Have to work on getting that flipped over so I can pick it up with my pickup stick. Use the pointy end of our pickup stick to get it lined up exactly, and then we have our entire greeting. I have the more distressed version of the no, this is the second tree that I did. Next, and I lay these out on that first embossed piece. Next, I had foiled this with some sparkle red foil, and I'm going to die cut those with the shadow layer. So it's just one layer of cardstock. So if you want to do a flatter card, this would be the way to go. And I'm laying those over the tree. I do end up deciding to go with the more distressed look on this particular background. I take a 5x7, no, sorry, this is an A2 size card. So this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white card base. And I had trimmed down our embossed piece to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. I've got this tree that I have foiled and inked up and put an extra piece of cardstock on the back of that I had die cut with the same die. And we're going to line up our foiled Season's Greetings and lay that over the top of the tree. Just using my liquid glue to adhere those. You can use whatever your favorite liquid glue is. Trinity Stamps has a lovely glue called Crafty Gluefriend. Works fantastic, and it has a lovely precision tip. And you could use that also. I wanted to add some extra shimmer, and these gold star confetti stars are just stunning. They're a beautiful gold, and they have a holographic shine to them, and they're very flat, and there are so many in this little container. You will have stars for days, years, maybe even months at least. Depends on how many shaker cards you make with this. They work great in shakers too. I just wanted to add a little extra punch of shine on the front of this card. Next, for the inside of the card, we're going to use the Sparkle Seasons stamp set, and we're going to use a couple of the sentiments. I have them lined up in my MISTI here. This is going to say, "May your holidays sparkle and shine." I think that's perfect with all the shininess on the front of this card. Beautiful. Next, we're going to make a 5x7 card, and I took the Modern Embossed Edge A7 stack, and I die cut a piece of white cardstock to mat behind our embossed piece. And I'm taking some Lunar paste in Bee Sting, and this is beautiful shimmery stuff. You can use this shimmery paste in a lot of ways, and my favorite way right now to use it is to use just a sponge dauber and apply it directly to your cardstock for a fast drying shimmery look. I'm just doing it around the edges because that's all that's going to show around the edges of our embossed and inked piece of cardstock. And a little bit goes a long way. As you can see, I'm dabbing off some excess in the cap of the paste jar and just completely covering the edges. I do a couple of coats to make sure I have a nice vibrant color here. Now, to clean that sponge, I just take it, when I'm all done with this session, I take it to the sink and run it under some warm water and rinse most of it out. There is some staining on the sponge when you're done, but it works beautifully every time you clean it and use it again. I did add a little bit of extra paper behind this, some scraps of cardstock, one layer behind the whole back of this panel, and I adhered that to our 5x7 card base. I did the same behind our embossed and inked panel, and we'll line that up nicely on here. And I love that pop of red that paste adds to our matted panel. I took an extra piece of cardstock and put that behind this tree also, and we'll adhere that fairly centered on this 5x7 card. And we'll adhere our Season's Greetings that is done with a metallic or a mirror card for the detailed portion of Season's Greetings and layered onto the cardstock shadow image. I didn't add any of the stars or gems to the front of this one because I thought it was quite lovely without it. So we've done 2 methods with our foiling plate so far, and well, 3 if you count the trees. So we're just straight up foiling and doing some ink blending resist on those. So that would be 3. This will be number 4. So I'm going to cover this entire panel with the Bee Sting Lunar paste. You could use whatever shimmery paste you want to use. There are several out on the market, and they dry really fast. So this time we're going to try to foil right onto this Lunar paste blended panel. So I've got my panel all heated up. I put my tin foil on, or tin tile plate on it, let it heat for the prescribed amount of time. Actually, I think I let it heat twice. And look at that. It is absolutely stunningly perfect. I'm going to then take this same or another panel that I blended or covered with the Lunar paste, and then we're going to use the same sandwich that we did for the white and the inked version, and we're going to run it through with this Lunar paste version. And look at that. I could have waited for that Lunar paste to dry just a little longer because it wanted to stick in a couple of spots, but it came off gorgeous. Now we're going to just run this through again and get some solid dry embossing, and we're going to take some of these shimmer pastes, or shimmer powders, and sprinkle those all over this watercolor dry embossed piece of cardstock. This is also I think it's a 6x9 piece, so it's going to be bigger than we need, and I'm tapping this beautiful shimmery powder all over. Some of this is the Lindy's shimmer powders, and some of it is the Nuvo Shimmer powders, and I've spritzed it with this fine mister. It wasn't designed for stamping. I think it's for spray tans. I picked it up at Target. I'll try to link that below also. And I'm sprinkling this powder on. I want a more intense red background, and I want lots of variation. I've got 2 red colors and a gold. That gold is the Lindsay's shimmer powder, and it's almost like a glitter. It's just gorgeous. Next, we're going to use some of this gold Lunar paste. I think it's called Traffic Cone. I'm not positive. Later Gator. Nope, it's probably I don't remember. Crazy. It's one of the yellows or golds of the Lunar paste, and I'm just using my finger to apply some around the edges of this panel because I want a little extra beautiful definition on this. And since this is a pretty artistic looking panel, I am fine with that being just a rough edge, not a real fine defined edge. Now we're going to take and adhere this to the front of the card. And I decided to keep that simple and not matte this one with the gold edging. That was my way of creating some definition between the card front and the card panel. Next, we're going to use one of the freebie die sets that Trinity Stamps gives you if you place an order over $25. And this is the current, at least at the time of taping, this was the current die set that was being given with orders greater than $25 on the Trinity site. And as you can see, it is a bunch of different greenery and some Christmas type themed flowers. This could be a single 5-petal flower, or you can double it up and create this full poinsettia look. We've got some mistletoe and holly berries, and I'm also going to pull in the Scripty Holidays dies, and I have cut the fine detail with some glitter cardstock, and the shadow with some shimmery gold cardstock. This card is going to be full of shimmeriness and gorgeousness. I actually really like the way this card turned out. I have saved the tittle in the main part of the gold glitter cardstock, so I didn't lose it until it was time to adhere it to the shadow level. Again, just using my fine tip glue pen, not glue pen, my fine tip glue to put a little adhesive behind that and carefully adhering that to the shadow, and it's all ready to go. Now the Scripty Holiday does not have a foiling element to it, just the fine detail die and the shadow die. And they are beautiful and fit very well on an A7 card. This is an A7 card, which is a 5x7 card. But they also fit well on a A2 card. Now we're going to take our little sprigs of flowers and foliage and adhere them tucked in behind the different edges of the words Happy Holidays. I did speed this way up because this is already a very long video, and I didn't think you wanted me to do this at lower speed. If you want to see this at a slower speed, go to the gear symbol in your YouTube panel there, and you can change the speed that you're viewing this video. Although I would recommend turning the sound off because my voiceover will sound very strange in slow-mo. Next, I took the golden glass, golden glass rhinestones and added those to the front. And I did also die cut some of the small round pieces or the dots that go in the centers of the flowers and berries and added those on the inside of the card. So we decorated the outside and the inside. Now here's a quick look at the projects from today's video. Leave me a comment. Share your thoughts with me about this video and about what you'd like to see done in the future. If you're looking for the products that I used today, they're listed and linked in the description box below. Please subscribe, like, all the things. Until next time, bye-bye.